Relationships can wait. Work on yourself first. You don't need to rush to get into a relationship. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to have that special person to come home to, and at the same time you gotta also think about, you gotta balance that and this. Just because a relationship isn't just a friendship, a relationship is still work. You still have to work on maintaining that sense of love. You need to be there for that person, just as that person needs to be there for you, but that's still work. And I'm not saying that, you should never get in a relationship and only focus on yourself, but have your priorities set, because you never know what's gonna happen. I ended up having a kid at a really young age. It's not planned at all, but things happen, life happens, accidents happen. Was he an accident? Absolutely not. I love my son to death, but things can wait until you are more secured in your own person before you decide to bring somebody else into your life. Don't rush things. Just, if they're understanding about it, then you got a good person that could potentially be your forever.
Hi, I'm Chandra Kydd of Smart Kydd Concepts, and we are here with another great interview for GED Breaking Barriers. I am here with Michael, who is going to talk about his GED journey. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Good, a little tired.
A little tired, but good. So first of all, I want to start off by just congratulating you, because Michael is a recent graduate. He just received his GED. And so start us off, Michael, why did you not finish school in the traditional high school?
During that time, there was a lot going on. There was complications going on in the house with my parents, and me, I always stuck around with my mother. So when things were getting rough between my mom and my stepfather, my mom wanted to move away to California, so I would go with her. And at the time I was with my ex, so I had to drop out of school so that way I would continue out in California. But that process ended up being prolonged. So I never ended up going back to school here, and instead went to work. And then when the time actually came to make the move, we went to California, but I still never ended up going back to school because it's expensive to live out there. And even with our three incomes, we were all still struggling. So I never really went back to school to finish my education and ended up just staying working.
So at this time you left, was it Florida to go to California?
Yeah.
So you left Florida to go to California. You were at what grade at that time?
12.
You were in the 12th grade. So you guys moved to California, you get to California, but instead of going back to school, you ended up working.
Yeah.
At what point did you feel it was time for you to go back and get your high school diploma?
I had a kid.
So you had a child. So what was it about having a child that said now is the time?
Money. I needed to further my education in order to have more opportunities to get a better job, provide for my son. That's what started to click those gears in, and I need to do this
right
so that I can provide for my son and give him a better life that I couldn't have.
So before you got your GED, what was the job search like? How did that go? Did you have any issues?
It wasn't really that hard. Had a lot of jobs. In terms of when I went out to California, there was sort of in a way a job set for us, because my mother had a friend who worked at the San Francisco airport, so my mom was working there, and then in a way that's what also kind of got me into there, to work in the airport.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to go through the traditional of flying, going through an interview. It was kind of like, oh, he's a good worker, blah, 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 blah. And then I got put into a spot that I was going to be fine to work in. So
because of a connection of a person who you knew that was able to get you in the door at employment position. So you're now working at the airport, and this is in California at the time?
At the time that was at California.
Right. So now you guys decided to move back to Florida?
That's when me and my ex were having a falling out, and after we had broken up, it was just not a good environment. She wasn't really respectful, so I ended up leaving and coming back to Florida with my stepfather. At that time, I was also going to still try to go back to school, but I also had to pay bills, help out my father. I ended up still going back to work. Didn't end up doing the school. I ended up working at Disney at that time.
Okay, so you guys went to like Orlando area?
Yes, we were in Davenport,
okay.
Polk County.
Okay, and so now you're back to Florida and you feel now I need to get a better job with better prospects and pay so that you can support your son, so you decide to go back. Was this the time that you got your diploma? Was that the first time you decided to go back to get your GED, or had you tried to get it before?
No, this would be the first time going back. When I had left California, the ideal goal was to go back to school and work at the same time, but again, it ended up just working.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get your GED when you did go and register? How long?
It was the beginning of the year, January, February is when I started the initial going to school. So, and I graduated, I believe, last month.
So in July. So it took about 7 months.
Yeah.
About 7 months. Was that the goal? Did you want it to?
I mean, I obviously wanted to finish when I first started, and then within that time frame to finish within that 2-month period. But math.
That was my next question. Like, what subject was a challenge for you? So it was the math.
It would be math. Yes.
So what was the deal with the math? How many times did you have to take it, and what do you feel was the reason that it was such a struggle for you?
I was never good at math. Okay. Math has always been my hardest subject to overcome. In terms of the other subjects, I honestly don't know. I was just good with it.
Okay.
I know with language arts, I was always good with the language arts. I don't like to read, but I'm actually good with reading.
Right.
Essays, I can write the essays. When it comes to numbers and math, it was never my strongest subject. With the other tests, I took them once, passed it once.
Passed them the first time you took them?
The math test took me 4 tries.
What subject did you pass first? Science. Okay, and of the 3 that you passed with no problem, which did you feel was like the easiest cakewalk of a test?
Language arts.
The language arts, you felt that was pretty easy, breezy?
Honestly, after what you had, a little cheat sheet, I guess you could say, that really helped me word my essays better.
Okay.
So I was able to memorize the format as to how I should
structure your essay. So that framework helped you really nail that essay, which helped you to pass it with no problems. So on this math, okay, when you didn't pass it the first time, what was your score?
I think it was a 141.
So 141. So you missed it by like just 3 points or so. 4 points. 4 points. You need a 145. What went through your mind when you didn't pass it?
I expected that because I'm not great with math.
Okay.
So I didn't go in with having high hopes.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pass it. I got it. No. Yeah, I know I'm not great at math, so I went in there with if I don't pass it, I got at least 2 more tries to go.
Okay.
You know? Funny enough, every time I retook the test, I went up by 1 point.
Okay.
So it went from a 141 to a 142. Took it again, a 143.
Okay, so you were taking baby steps to get to that 145.
There was something that I kept missing, and I could not figure that out.
So you took it a total of how many times before you passed it?
4 times.
So you took it 4 times. So, okay, now the 3rd time, because we know with after the 3rd attempt, you have to wait 60 days. How did you feel when you didn't pass it the 3rd time?
I definitely felt I wanted to just quit.
You wanted to quit at that point. What kept you from quitting?
I don't know, honestly.
You don't know?
I really couldn't say it was my son or if it was my mother, or because there was a lot of reasons to be like, I got to do it for them. I got to do it for him. I got to do it for my mother. I got to do it for myself. I honestly can't tell you that that's what I was thinking. It was just more of, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to say it. It's just, I kept going.
Right. And I don't know if this was maybe it, but it's like, I got this far, it's just one more.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, it wouldn't make sense to stop at that point if you've mastered 3 out of the 4 needed to get your diploma. So who supported you along this journey? Who helped you, whether it was to study or to get to school, or who was the biggest support on your journey to get your GED?
My ex's mother.
Your ex's mother. Yeah. So, wow, that's interesting. Okay, so how did that come? Why was she the biggest cheerleader?
It would have been my mother. I'm not saying that she wasn't, cheering me on, but she wasn't here. She's in Arizona working on her farm, so it's understandable.
Right.
With my mother-in-law, we've kind of connected, I guess, a little more after the breakup. I'm not a very positive person. She was really pushing me to study.
Okay.
You need to pass this, you need to want this, you need to study every single day. Take time out of your day to study, take a break, study again, take a break. And I tried to do that as best as I could and passed. So I mean, it obviously worked.
Stayed on top of you a bit. What, is a lesson that you learned, whether in any of your classes or on your journey, that you think was instrumental? Like, what do you walk away from besides your diploma? What skill or trait have you learned about yourself that you feel is so very valuable at this point?
Anybody can do anything. Even if you're going back for your GED and you feel nervous or that you feel like you can't do it, you see all these people, all these adults, even kids that have failed, but have come back to still further their education.
Right.
You never know what anybody's going through. You can see somebody smiling, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's said for everybody that you see. In the classroom, everybody's there for a reason. And whether you think that you can't or can't, that person's doing it. That person's doing it. That person's doing it.
Right.
That person has 5 kids and they're still here. That person has nobody and they're still here. This person came back from an illness, they're still here, When you think you can't do it, just look at the people that are there.
Right.
They're here. They're doing it. You can do it too. I'm somebody who hates school. I don't like to go to school. I went back. Did I enjoy it? No.
No. But you did it.
But I did it.
Right.
I did it. And I can always look back at this and tell my son, if I did it, you can do it.
Right.
Especially if I did it, you can do it. Somebody who hated school went back to school to get their education to better your future. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Right. So with this scenario, how do you feel having your GED is going to better your life even 5 years from now?
I'll be able to better support my son and what he wants to do. I'll be able to have the funds to be able to support my child. Not only support him, but I can also support myself.
Right.
And you've seen nowadays, prices are going up.
That is so true.
Homes, gas, food, everything's going up. So it sucks to say that, money's everything. In this day and age, money is everything. You need to have financial support. And if you don't have it, it's going to be a real struggle. And you definitely need to have the right type of people to help you through it. I have these 2 guys that I've been friends with for 10 years, and they've been by my side through thick and thin. And that's that mental support that you need. When you can't really count on your family, you have those people that you can count on, that you can depend on, that will be there to support and help you out. And as a curveball as it was, my mother-in-law is one of those people.
Right. Right.
So you never really know who you have until you need them.
That's a great statement, So, and I want to ask you, so thinking about in regard to relationships, because sometimes relationships can help the journey or hurt the journey. Would you have any words of advice for an individual who wants to go back to school, but maybe they're in a relationship that might not be feeding towards their success in school? What advice would you give?
My situation was a little different. Obviously, I have a son with that woman, and we had splitting up. We had split up, and that's kind of that. If somebody's going through that, that's a mindset that can really put you down, depending on the circumstances. My circumstance was different. Somebody that's in a relationship, I really can't say because I wasn't in one.
Okay, gotcha.
Mine broke off. I was alone. I was by myself. I had to do things on my own. I had to self-motivate myself. But if you do have that person that's there for you and is willing to stick by your side through everything, that is your biggest support. That's gonna be your biggest fan, you know?
Yeah.
So it's healthy to do your best to maintain that relationship while also doing school. If that person is very understanding, then there's really nothing for you to worry about because you've got that number one person right beside you.
Right.
But yeah, you know, somebody that's in a relationship, I'm pretty sure they're going to root for you and help you get to where you need to be, regardless if you are in a relationship or if you're not, or if you're going through a breakup like how I was when I was going through my schooling. You really got to just look out for yourself because nobody's going to look out for you but you.
Right.
And that's something that I had to come to a realization that I'm by myself. I got to do this on my own.
Right. And what about balancing being a student and being a dad? How did that scenario play out for you? How did you manage and juggle being an employee, being a dad, being a student? How did you work that out?
When it comes to the job and school, you definitely need a job that's going to help work with you with your school. Because no matter what, school is going to be that number one for every job. You have to put your school before your work. Thankfully, I was able to do that. I was able to explain to my boss that I'm going to be in school from this time to this time. I can work anytime past that. And it worked out for me. Mm-hmm. Not in the best job. I work at PDQ, you know, it's a fast food. It works with it. Well, it did because I don't do school now. It worked with the schedule.
Okay.
So I was able to do my school. I have time to get back home, shower, eat, spend some time with my son, and then I go to work and he's with his mother or he's with his grandmother. Mm-hmm. It really just comes down to your job needs to be accommodating to you. If your job's not accommodating, it's going to make your schooling a whole lot worse. And it's going to end up messing with your mind, or not with your mind, but it's going to mess with your attitude, really, because then you're going to be like, oh, now I'm stressed out because work is, I'm up my butt, sorry.
Right, it's fine.
And then I also have to find the time to study, and then I got to also be with my kid because yada, 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 yada. But that's just with a single parent, you know. When it's more with a structured family, I want to say it's going to be easier. In terms of my case, my jobs worked out fine. They were able to let me still go to school, and I was still able to balance being with my son, still study at the same time. Again, it all comes down to your job.
Right.
If your job can accommodate your school style, and then you can find a way to balance your lifestyle, you're good.
Yeah, and I think that's a great, thing that you mentioned, because the truth is there are a lot of employers who will not work around a person's schedule and desire to go back to school. And so what ends up happening is the student may sacrifice school for work. So they put in and they end up leaving school so that they can work more. And I get it, you need the finances, but at the end of the day, you now kind of stick yourself in a scenario where you have to stay at that job way longer than you need because you don't have the education to do better. So it's really an important choice to try to choose education over the job, because the job is the job. And especially if it's a job you see no future with, you don't want to sacrifice education that can get you a better scenario for a job that you really don't want to be at anyway, especially if it doesn't provide benefits and full-time hours and consistency and vacation and all of those great perks. So that's a great point. Having a boss that will accommodate your schedule is important. So when you graduated and you finally took that math test and you saw that passing score, what went through your mind?
Finally.
So this was it.
Pretty much finally.
Uh-huh.
Finally did that. First person I called was my mom, and I let her know that I had passed it, and then called my 2 boys up about that, and the next person was my aunt, because she was also actually somebody that also did her GED.
Okay.
And she's a real estate agent, very successful. And I guess if anything, I could say I relate to her way more because she went back for her GED. She wasn't the best person in the world. We did not have a good relationship. When I was younger. Hated that woman. But over time, just it all came from a loving place.
Right.
And we're like this now.
Now
so.
You guys are like peace and carrots.
She was actually somebody that also was trying to motivate me to go to get my GED. But I was calling everybody up, like, hey, finally passed.
And what did you do? Did you celebrate? Did you?
My mother-in-law took me out to eat, and then also at the same time, my son was also going to school. Like we were starting school for him, so it was all just a big celebration thing. Ate some food, went bowling. It was a great day.
It was a great day.
Yeah.
So now that you've gotten this checked off your bucket list, where is the future leading you? Now that you have your high school diploma, what's the next step? Are you going to go continue schooling or a certain career field? What's your plan?
Well, I do want to do something in the medical field. I know that's something that I've actually always wanted to do. I just never knew where in the medical field I feel like I would fit in. The EMT has always been like that, I guess you could say, light bulb that I would like to do. My cousin, he's in the Navy. He has been an EMT. He did EMT. That's kind of like something that I've been trying to get in contact with him, but he's in the Navy, so he's really busy.
Right.
Obviously. And then my aunt, she actually has a lot of connections with medical, firefighters, the law enforcement. So she's somebody that I can also talk to about, which she actually has after I had told her about me passing the GED. She was actually talking to me about a lot of things that I could, I think it was EMS, something with EMS that I could try to go in to do the EMS, and that way I can branch out into maybe like I can be in the firefighters department, but like the medical portion of that.
Gotcha.
The police, medical, in that way. If I want to still pursue that EMT, you can still branch off into that EMT. The EMS is to get that foot in.
Right.
But for me right now, I got the medical assisting. I'm on a list for that. That's going to start in October. So I'll be getting an email about that. And then from there, I can get the information that I need from the professionals,
Right.
Not necessarily stuck. I guess I could still do some other things while I'm waiting for October to come around. That way I can start progressing in the medical assisting. Trying to get into contact with my aunt so that way she can explain to me more about the EMS thing. That way I can start doing something instead of waiting.
Right, right. If you had to give someone out there who is really kind of on the fence about going back, or maybe they are stuck on that one subject and they can't seem to pass it, what advice would you give?
If you're contemplating about going back to school for your GED, even if that's just popping in your mind, like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Just do it. Just do it. There's a reason why you're thinking about it, that deep down you want to do it. Even though on the outside you don't, deep down, because you're even contemplating it means that you know in your heart that you should go and do it. If there was something in your life that you wanted to do, but put it off, just like me, EMT, that's the motivation right there. Go do your GED, go get it done, because then that's just gonna help you further into what you actually wanted to do that you put off. In terms of the tests, studying is your number one thing. Studying for sure. In terms of the math that I was actually doing, I actually found somebody on YouTube. He's called Get Some Math. That's what helped me a lot. I used that guy's website a lot every day. That's what I was using to study every day. I made my own little study guide on some paper from what he was teaching whenever I was not in school. And especially since it took me a while to finish and I ended up going into that summer school, so the teachers, they were off and then the substitutes came in, teach us how the teacher was.
Right.
that kind of can put you in a rut where you're like, nah, I feel like I'm not really learning anything. It's just come to school, here's what I have for you, do it and leave. That's kind of what it felt like.
Right.
So at that point is where you kind of have to find a way to teach yourself.
So the self-motivation has to kick in.
You have to self-motivate yourself. If you're not self-motivating, you're not going to get it.
So you mentioned about, the dynamic with your teachers. So how was your dynamic with your teachers? How did it go with those who taught you the science, the social studies, the math, the RLA? So how was the dynamic with your relationship with your teachers?
The teachers need to have a great mindset. And with all the teachers, having that burst of energy is what really brings you to wanting to learn. Miss Kydd, gotta say, best social studies teacher I ever had, best language arts teacher I ever had. I've only had one other language arts teacher that I've ever liked, and that was in middle school. Miss Kerrigan, that woman is golden retriever.
Math is lit.
Math is lit, yeah. She is a great math teacher. I've never had a math teacher that I ever liked, never, because I don't like math.
Okay.
But she brings a type of energy where she keeps you engaged, I do feel like I've learned a lot from her. I've learned a lot from you and from Miss Kim, my science teacher. It's all dependent on the teachers. If your teachers don't make you feel like you want to be there, then they're not going to want to be there. They're not going to want to pay attention. They're not going to listen. It's important to have, your teachers care. If they don't care, then you're not going to care. If they care, you're going to end up caring, surprising yourself. Right. You're going to surprise yourself with, oh wow, I'm actually learning something. I actually did learn something today. Instead of just sitting there, staring at whatever you're teaching, not really taking it in, looking like you are, but you're not,
you're faking it.
There's a difference between just looking and actually interacting and writing down what you're teaching.
Right. So now you are a graduate. Do you plan to participate in any type of graduation ceremony? Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, yeah.
So you want to have on that cap, gown, walk across the stage, do the whole 9.
Yes.
Do you plan to get any other higher level degrees like your bachelor's or anything like that?
So what I'm trying to go into is radiology. That's not my end goal, because my end goal would be that EMT. The EMT is definitely something that I know I want to do for sure. The radiology, I've been just researching and looking up, how the pay is, what kind of benefits I can get. You can progress further into that field. You don't have to stay at just being a radiologist. There's room for improvements always. So there's an associate's degree that I can go for that particular job. And from what I've been learning based off of the 2 radiologists that I've been just watching on YouTube, going for your associate's degree, in a way you have a job lined up once you're done, or you're actually working while you're still getting your associate's degree versus the bachelor's degree. The associate's degree is something that would be furthering my education as to where I'm going to go. The bachelor's would be more for like if I want to be a teacher in that field, or if I want to be the head of whatever radiology that would accept me, So that would be more for like being an educator. The associate's degree is that comfortable spot where I can secure a job and I'll know I'll be set when I get out of the schooling. So the associate's degree is where I would be going.
So last question, what advice, if you could go back to yourself, and when you left Florida and went to California and you had the chance to go back then, what advice would you have given yourself back then that you know now that you're a little older?
Relationships can wait. Work on yourself first. You don't need to rush to get into a relationship. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to have that special person to come home to and just relax. But at the same time, you gotta also think about, you gotta balance that and this. Just because a relationship isn't just a friendship. A relationship is still work. You still have to work on maintaining that sense of love. You need to be there for that person, just as that person needs to be there for you, but that's still work. And I'm not saying that, you should never get in a relationship and only focus on yourself, but have your priorities set, because you never know what's gonna happen. I ended up having a kid at a really young age. It's not planned at all, you know, but things happen, life happens, accidents happen. Was he an accident? Absolutely not. I love my son to death, but things can wait until you are more secured in your own person before you decide to bring somebody else into your life. Don't rush things. Just, if they're understanding about it, then you got a good person that could potentially be your forever, you know?
Right.
But I definitely have to say to myself, relationships can wait. Work on yourself. You need to have yourself set first before you can bring anybody else into your life.
That's great advice. I am so glad that you were able to join me today, Michael. I really was looking forward to this interview because I wanted to have, you know, a great interview with some men, because, you know, I want the fellas to know that education is important, that, you know, going back to school is manly. It is a masculine thing to, as you say, you know, work on yourself and get yourself to a place where you are confident in who you are and what you can do and provide to your family, to your children and relationships, your significant other. But it is a manly thing to educate yourself by any means. And you did you mentioned a multitude of ways you educated yourself. You did traditional, you went back and went to a classroom, and yet you also studied on your own. You used resources like YouTube. You did whatever it took. You studied. You did whatever it took while you were working to get it done. So it is so doable for those who are guys out there. It is not just the ladies, but the fellas who need to get themselves together education-wise so that you can be a greater provider and have a better lifestyle that you may currently have. So I thank you so much for your time, Michael. And I wanted to wish everybody out there to motivate you all that this is so doable. Michael said it correctly. If you just look around, there are people doing this. So if they can do it, and they have stories, some of them worse or more difficult or more challenging than you, if they can do it no matter what age, you are never too old. You have not messed up so bad, you can go back to school and you can finish. You need the right support, and sometimes you need to motivate yourself to get it done. Motivation is key to get it done, but get it done. I'm Chandra Kydd of Smart Kid Concepts. I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.